Welcome back into Believe in the Wolfpack, where the NC State men's and women's teams are moving on to the Sweet 16. Much more surprisingly, the men's team moving on to the Sweet 16. We're going to start with them and then get to the women's team after because they survived a tough game against the Tennessee team where they were in it, at least it felt like they were in it the entire time, and they got a tough game coming up against Stanford, that is. Going to be the toughest game of the year by far. Highest stakes, of course, but it's going to be a good one. But let's start with the men's team because had to go into overtime to take down the Oakland Golden Grizzlies that are not in California. It took me until the day of the game to figure out that they're not in California, but whatever. They're in Michigan. Learn something new every day. They took down Jack Gohlke. They took down who, everyone thought that Gohlke was going to be America's sweetheart, but that title has been established. DJ Burns has had that title since the start of the ACC run, and it's America's sweetheart's DJ Burns. Let's not play around here. Let's not get confused here. It's DJ Burns, and it will remain DJ Burns hopefully for the rest of the year. But they got past Texas Tech in the opening round, in the first round, that Thursday night game, which was honestly, it felt like a much less stressful and easier game than the Oakland game. Texas Tech, we were in control pretty much the entire time. I think we led 99% of the game, maybe 100%, but we pretty much had that game. That game was over with 10 minutes left in the second half, it felt like. Texas Tech just had nothing going for them. And we were playing impeccable defense, just perfect defense almost every single time. And they just couldn't stop Burns. It couldn't really stop anything. Couldn't stop Ben Middlebrooks, who had his career high. I mean, what? Couldn't pick a better game. Perfect time for it. But then going up against the Oakland team that upset Kentucky, where Kentucky just played zero defense at all. And Jack Gohlke had 32 points. Was it 30 points or 30? No, I'm pretty sure it was 30 points because he had all threes besides. Yeah, because he had 10. Yeah, he had 10 threes and then just one layup that he kind of had to take because he was wide open. We did hold Gohlke to 22 points in this game, and he shot 6 for 17 from three and from the field. But then Tommy Townsend was great this game. He had 30 points and 13 rebounds. If anybody was going to beat us, I don't think it was going to be Gohlke. I think it was going to be Townsend because he was having a great game in the low post, and then Middlebrooks and Diarra both were in foul trouble. Both ended up fouling out of the game in overtime, but both were in foul trouble. So Townsend could kind of just play as aggressive as he wanted. Well, nearly as aggressive as he wanted because he knew that Diarra and Middlebrooks couldn't foul him, couldn't afford to foul him again in the second half. But hey, we pulled out. We still played great defense, and we made Gohlke take those tough shots. You're looking at, some of them went in. You're like, how the hell does that go in? And then others, you're like, yeah, no chance. I mean, you got a guy shooting 6 for 17 from three. He went 4 or 5 from the free throw line, but all right, so you give up 6 threes. That doesn't look good, but he shot 17 times. I'm fine with that. Take that every single game. But DJ Burns was just a monster in this game. In overtime, again, like, he didn't have it at first in the beginning. He had a few of his little kind of left-handed post hooks, a little, just a nice little soft touch off the rim, touch off the glass, kicks off the glass, it falls right in. He didn't have that initially. It kind of started to fall for him about 10 minutes into the first half, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it was about 10 minutes into the first half. But he finished with 24 points and 11 rebounds and 4 assists. And he was just awesome in overtime. He was, good amount of the reason that we won. Even Jaden Taylor having to come off the bench, he hit some big shots. He had 8 points in this game. He had to play the rest of overtime because of Middlebrooks and Diarra fouling out. So he was that fifth player. It was Marcel, Horn, O'Connell, Burns, and Taylor. And Taylor played pivotal moments and came up big. Michael O'Connell had a solid game. DJ Horn didn't really have too great of a game, but it was just a DJ Burns game. That's really what it was. Michael O'Connell had a solid game in my mind. He had 12 points, yeah, 4-7 shooting, and then 3 for 5 from the field with 8 assists. The 8 assists is awesome, but a few defensive possessions where he was trying to guard Gohlke or guard somebody, and I'm like, what are you doing? So yeah, I think it maybe have just been some he was trying to do something different. He was thinking about doing something and never really worked out, but his play was there. Just a few defensive possessions, he was just terrible. A few bad passes as well, kind of very much unlike him. But the defense is what worried me, and he's been a good defender all year in my mind. So I'm hoping that was just kind of a one-time thing. Maybe he just wasn't ready for Gohlke to really just be pulling up when he's parallel with the ground. He's leaning, it's a few steps behind the 3-point line. Maybe he just wasn't ready for that. I don't know. But regardless, we're on to the Sweet 16, beating Texas Tech and Oakland in our path. And then we match up with Marquette in the Sweet 16. Their leading scorer is Cam Jones. He averages 17 points a game, but don't be fooled by that because Tyler Kolek is the one who kind of runs the show, and he's going to be the X factor in this game for Marquette, as he was in their last game against Oregon, Colorado, against Colorado. Oregon and Colorado, but just scoring a million points and couldn't pull out the win. That's why I confused the two. We'll talk about some of those games in a minute too, but Tyler Kolek is their guy. He's going to have the ball in his hand, what it's going to feel like 90% of the time. He averages a tick under 8 assists a game. He averages just about 15. Yeah, averages 15 points a game. He's going to he'll probably have at least 10 assists. I'd say he would have 10 assists. If he doesn't have 20 points and 10 assists, I would be shocked. I mean, he was great against Colorado. Maybe they just didn't play defense, but he looked great against Colorado. He's going to be a tough guy to stop. I imagine it'll be O'Connell guarding Tyler Kolek because Cam Jones is 6'5" and he's their scorer, or he averages 17, I guess. And I think Morcell will be on him. So then O'Connell will have to guard Kolek. But then the main matchup, at least, well, the main player, their X factor is Tyler Kolek. Yes, he's going to be, it's going to be nearly impossible to stop him, especially after how he played against Colorado. But Oso Ighodaro, I believe I said that right. He's their center, and he's a big dude. Where Texas Tech and Oakland, I'm really bad with names right now. Texas Tech and Oakland really didn't have anybody that could stop DJ Burns. That could go one-on-one with DJ Burns. They always had to double team. Always had to send somebody, and you send a double team, he could care less. He could care less if you send 3 guys at him. He's going to kick the ball away in an instant, or he's so big he can hang on to it and kind of hold it on his hip and not allow that defender coming over to double team to swipe the ball away. He can still hold it strongly and wait and be patient and then dish it off. I remember talking about it months ago about how his passing is just so elite and just so good and underrated, and his touch off the glass. Oh my God, I saw it coming. I guess kind of. But I always knew that this was where we could be at, kind of. The skills were there. But as I was saying, Ighodaro, he's 6'11", 235 pounds. And he is their main center. He is their big man. I don't think they're going to start out doubling DJ Burns. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to try to play one-on-one ball with Ighodaro going against DJ Burns and see if he can have any success there, see if he doesn't get backed down by DJ Burns. Do I think it's going to work? I don't think so, but I would be very surprised if they don't at least try to make it work, if you kind of get what I'm saying here. If it starts to not work, then the double team is going to come in, and that's where probably we will play our best basketball, because DJ Burns, if he can get a bucket every single time, 2 points right up, lefty layup, lefty floater, whatever, cool, that's great. But we do play our best basketball whenever the double team comes at Burns and then he dishes it out, and then we start moving the ball just quickly and efficiently, just swinging it around the perimeter, getting an open 3, getting a guy in the air, dribbling in, quick mid-range 2, another layup, and one. That's where we play our best basketball, at least I think, and that's how it's looked these last 7 games. So if they don't double DJ Burns, if they try to, just keep Iguodala on him the entire game, I almost feel like that would be a better game plan for Marquette. I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to get so worried about DJ Burns scoring on Iguodala, and if he gets him into foul trouble, that's even better for us. Listen, but I think they're going to be so worried about him scoring on Iguodala and getting him into foul trouble that they're going to have to send the double, and then that's when we can, make them pay that way, which should be the game plan for us. But if they stay with Iguodala and Burns just one-on-one, Burns is gonna have to go to work. I mean, there's gonna be times he's not gonna score every single time, but the way he's been shooting the ball and the way that he's been playing in the post, I wouldn't put it past him if he did. But I don't know. I'm gonna have a more of a breakdown on that game in the next episode. Let's go through some games, second round games that just happened this past weekend, and the teams being in the Sweet 16. North Carolina beating Michigan State 85-69. Michigan State started out on fire, and then North Carolina kind of woke up and then came back. Arizona and Dayton, that was kind of close, but it never really felt like Dayton was going to win that game in my mind. Arizona has looked really good. They've looked really good. It's only 2 games, I get it, but I don't think there was ever a point where I'm looking at Arizona and saying, "Oh, they might drop this one." Iowa State and Washington State. This was a close game. 67-56. That doesn't really kind of reflect the game that this was. Iowa State struggled with Washington State for pretty much almost the entire game. Tennessee almost blew it to Texas. Dalton Connect didn't have that great of a game, but I just also want to make a point that this is the kind of game that Tennessee always loses. And the fact that they won the game shows that this is a legit, title Final Four contending team. So I still have faith. I mean, even though, let me just hung the bracket up over here. I do have Tennessee in the Final Four. Tennessee and Houston in the Final Four in my bracket, and those are the only 2 teams left in the tournament that I picked to be in the Final Four. I also picked Dayton and Auburn. Dayton just lost to Arizona, and Auburn couldn't even get past Yale. So nice. That was brutal. Illinois beat Duquesne. Duquesne had no business being in the second round in my mind. Illinois just jumped on them immediately and never looked back. Creighton beat Oregon in an unbelievable game. I cannot believe Creighton ended up winning by 13. I thought it was 12. Oh, no, whatever. But they ended up, I think, free throws and stuff. But they ended up winning by 13, and it was Dante and Cousinard were the only 2 scoring for Oregon. Nobody else. They were just playing 2-on-5, and it almost worked if it wasn't for overtime. Gonzaga just destroyed Kansas. That one felt obvious to me. This Gonzaga team is good, and they're flying under the radar a bit because, they're in that they can't get it done conversation. But I never believed in Kansas. They should have lost to Stanford. They should have gotten that foul call correct and called it a block, but they didn't. They, gave Kansas the win, and then they ended up getting just pounded by Gonzaga, 89-68. And that game wasn't close at all. That game wasn't close for a minute. It just jumped on them. Gonzaga jumped right on Kansas and never looks back. Same with Purdue and Utah State. This one felt obvious. The Mountain West didn't have a great showing in the first round, and then Utah State getting beat 106-67 by Purdue. Not great. UConn beat Northwestern 75-58. Duh. Houston and Texas A&M was the game of the weekend, and oh my God, I really thought Texas A&M was going to pull it out. I really thought they were. Double overtime. Nearly the entire team for Houston is fouled out. They had a double-digit lead with under 2 minutes, completely choked it away. Radford was practically playing just, who was it? Radford and Taylor. Radford and Taylor were practically just playing hero ball the entire time down the stretch and just couldn't get it done. Houston survived barely. Ryan Elvin, the walk-on who had to come on because the rest of his team was fouling out, Went 1 for 2 at the free throw line when they were up by 3. Went 1 for 2 at the free throw line to make it a 2-possession game. Massive. Only took 4 free throws all year, and that was the biggest spot of his career, of the team's entire season. And he didn't even have to make both. Going into that, I was like, he just needs to make one, and he's fine. He misses the first, drills the second. Oh, that was awesome to see. That was awesome to see. Marquette barely taking down Colorado. That was a great game too, 81-77. That game felt like it was just. I think at one point in the second half, it was always either a 5-point or 3-point lead for Marquette, and then they win by 4. So right in between, it was either tied, 3-point lead, 5-point lead. They win by 4. That was the entire game. Clemson took down Baylor. I didn't even have Clemson winning in the first round, so my bad. And then Duke just destroying JMU. That was another game where JMU just never had a chance. Had a great win over Wisconsin. I thought they were going to have a chance in this one. Not at all. Not at all. The Alabama and Grand Canyon game was an absolute mess, but my God, it was entertaining. I can't believe Alabama ended up winning by 12. Grand Canyon had the lead. Grand Canyon was right there the entire time. This game was practically tied the entire time with so many different lead changes, and it was just a gross game. Nobody could get a rebound. Nobody could hang on to a ball. There were so many fouls. What did Grand Canyon take? I think Grand Canyon took 45. Either Grand Canyon or Texas A&M took 45 free throws. The other team still took it. Yeah, yeah. Grand Canyon took 37 total free throws and lost by 12. Not great. Not great at all. And then San Diego State just destroyed Yale. Not surprising whatsoever. The Sweet 16 for the men's teams starts this Thursday. Clemson and Arizona is the first game. San Diego State, UConn, Alabama, North Carolina, and then Illinois, Iowa State. These are awesome games. It's mostly chalk outside of San Diego State and Clemson, I believe. Which, it's upsetting because the upsets are always so fun in March Madness. They're great. The buzzer-beating wins and whatnot. Yeah, it's cool, but when the good teams win and we get to the second round, that's what makes it just even more exciting. I mean, San Diego State and UConn, that's going to be a great game, but then you have, I do think Arizona, I think this is where Arizona just really asserts its dominance, and then Clemson's run comes to an end. I think Arizona crushes Clemson. But then you have North Carolina and Alabama. That's going to be great. That's going to be a really good game. I think North Carolina probably pulls that one out because Alabama just looked so hectic. Their offense is incredible, but they're just so hectic, and the defense really is not there. I think UConn beats San Diego State, but that could be a good game too. That San Diego State team, I mean, yeah, they beat Yale, but that first game, they're a solid team. They're a solid team. I think UConn wins, but the best game, Illinois and Iowa State. That game is going to be amazing. Oh, that is going to be Illinois, probably the best offense in the country. Iowa State, probably the best defense in the country. And they meet in the Sweet 16. This isn't even a Final Four game. This is a Sweet 16 game. Right now, Iowa State is favored by 1.5. I think that's just kind of like I think this is a 50-50 game. I think this game should be just 50-50. That's gonna be the best game of the weekend. I think it could be the best game of the weekend. It's a Sweet 16 game. It'll be the best game of the tournament. Oh, I can't wait for that game. I cannot wait. That's at 10:09. That's at 10 o'clock though. Make that a 7 o'clock game. Where is this? It's in Boston. Why do you have a 10 o'clock game in Boston? What are you doing? What? That's so dumb. Wow, that's really annoying. Oh, I forgot Arizona kind of has a home court advantage too because that game's in California. It's in Los Angeles at the crypto.com. It's at the Staples Center. I'm not doing crypto.com. Get out of here. Stop. But why is that at 10 o'clock in Boston? That's stupid, but whatever. I'll be watching. I promise you that. But I do have, that's another gripe I have with the scheduling. To go along with the Iowa State-Illinois game being at 10 o'clock in Boston, why is the NC State men's team, why do they play Friday at 7:09 and the women's team plays Friday at 7:30. We couldn't space those out. We couldn't put one team on a different that we couldn't move the women's team to Saturday or move the men's team to Thursday. We had to have them start their games within half an hour of each other. The same team. Really? That's ridiculous. That's terrible to me. But NC State plays Marquette 7:09 Friday night. Gonzaga and Purdue. These games are going to rock. Gonzaga and Purdue is going to be awesome. That's going to be a really good game. Purdue's 5.5-point favorites. I don't know. I was just talking about how this Gonzaga team is kind of flying under the radar and whatnot. I was just saying it. Duke and Houston, that's going to be a really good game. That Houston defense is awesome, and that Duke team looked like they just could not miss a shot against JMU. Creighton and Tennessee, another good one. 2 versus 3, 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5, and then 2 versus 11. I can't believe that we're the lowest seed. Yeah, we're the lowest seed remaining in the tournament. I really would have thought one of those 13 or 14 seeds would have been in the Sweet 16 right now. But hey, I'll take it. Perfectly fine with being the underdog. So, like I said, I'm going to have another kind of full preview of the games on the next episode. Can go through a whole how are we going to beat Marquette? How are we going to hold up with them? What's going to happen in the next round? If we get there, if that happens. So, going to take a short break for a moment. When we come back, going to go over the women's team and some of those games from this past weekend because there were some great games from them as well. So stick with us on Believe in the Wolfpack. All right, welcome back in. Believe in the Wolfpack. Going to finish up real quick, just going over the NC State women's team and their 79-72 win over the Tennessee Lady Volunteers. That's their official title, not just the Volunteers. That third quarter was stressful, and I knew it wasn't watching. I knew it was stressful, but then even just looking at the scoring by quarter again, 9 points in that third quarter. Yeesh. But I guess the recipe to success is to have Sanaya Rivers score 20 points and go 7 for 11 from the free throw line. I like that strategy. I like that strategy a lot. Same with Zoe Brooks scoring 16 off the bench. I love that strategy. I'm just so excited for the next 4 years with Zoe Brooks. Being a freshman and already contributing this much, I still think about that triple-double that she had in her first start. But just contributing this much as a freshman is massive, especially on a team that, you only really use 1 or 2 substitutions some games. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching her just grow as a player. But this week, they take on Stanford. And it's going to be the toughest game of the year. It's going to be the toughest game of the year by far. They got Kiki Irafen. She averages 19 points a game and is their leading scorer, but not by much. Cameron Brink, I mean, she's one of the best players in the country. 17 points, 11.9 rebounds, and even averages 3.5 blocks a game. Damn. Stanford's a good team. Stanford is an incredible team. Got that game. And this Friday at 7:30. Why couldn't we move one of these games? Why could we not move one of these games? But whatever. It's going to be a tough one, but I'm excited for it. Maybe, I do need Isaiah James to be, heating up from downtown. I need to see that. I don't think she even took that many threes in the last game. I think she was, 1 for 4 from 3? Yeah, 1 for 4 from beyond. Need those threes to be falling. For Isaiah James. I'm still kind of expecting her to be our leading scorer. But if she and Sanaya Rivers want to score 20 each, more than okay with that. A little 15, 16 piece from Zoe Brooks off the bench. That's a good recipe. That's a good recipe for success. But some other games, Oregon State and Notre Dame, they're also this Friday. They're at 2:30. South Carolina and Indiana. South Carolina's 16.5 point favorites in this game. I think they just beat, was it North Carolina by 40? Yeah. beat North Carolina 88-41 in the round of 32. That's ridiculous. We pretty much have the main time slot: NC State, Stanford, 7:30 on ESPN, Gonzaga, Texas later that night. And then Saturday, you got UCLA and LSU. LSU's been a little suspect. They're favored in this one, but a little suspect for LSU and Kim Mulkey. Iowa's playing Colorado. Iowa's 7.5-point favorites. They even looked a little, I mean, they still had a 10-point win against West Virginia, but it felt like it should have been more. Maybe that's just the Caitlin Clark effects, but I don't know. I mean, I may just pick Caitlin Clark every time until she has to play NC State. Baylor and USC, and then UConn and Duke. UConn's looked really good too, with Beckers and all them. I mean, they've looked great. Even though they did beat Syracuse by only 8, I thought that game was a much larger margin of a win for them. But some good games coming up. You got to play Stanford in the Sweet 16. Man, that's probably the best game of the weekend, too, for the women's side, is NC State against Stanford, because that's just that's two really good teams. Damn, it had to be Stanford. Not even like, who's Duke play? Oh, Duke plays UConn. Yeah. Damn, or like Colorado. We already beat Colorado. Damn, Stanford's going to be a good game. I'm going to have another breakdown of that game to go along with the men's breakdown against Marquette. I'm glad I have 2 TVs, though, because both these games being on at the same time is ridiculous to me. Ridiculous. I mean, I more understand why the NC State women's team against Stanford is on at 7 o'clock, because that could be the best game of the weekend. That may be one of the best games of the women's tournament. So you got to have that at 7. Yeah, you have that at 7:30. You have that in the main time slot. Yeah. Then move the men's game. Move the men's game up. Move it back. Move it to Thursday. Then don't have it at the same time. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid. It's just dumb by the NCAA and whoever just creates this schedule and approves it. Whoever approved this is an idiot. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? And then Illinois and Iowa State at 10 o'clock? In Boston, too? That's not even on the West Coast. What? That game might not be done until 1 a.m. Whatever. Just maybe, just hire me. I'll just help you guys out. I can work schedules, can make smart decisions. Clearly, you may be missing out on that a little bit, but that's going to wrap up this show. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of, or one of this week's episodes of Believe in the Wolfpack. Got both teams in the Sweet 16 still dancing, and let's get through another weekend. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.